Hey, do you know who Jim Estill is? Well, he's the CEO of Danby right here in Guelph, Ontario, and he jumped onto Inside Guelph with me to have an exclusive interview of what it takes to become a success. If you don't know, Jim went from 0 to 2 billion in sales, and he's done other amazing things that he shares with you on our show. So if you're interested, click the link below, and we'll see you on the interview. Hey everybody, welcome to Inside Guelph. Today we got Jim Estill with us. Thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate that. Would you be okay if I opened up with some icebreakers with you?
Darn right.
All right, here we go. What's your favorite Guelph patio?
Right now, I'd say it's Gusto or La Cucina.
Those are great options. What's your favorite sport?
Well, like we were talking, it used to be squash, but and the other interesting thing is I don't actually follow sports either because I'm a time management guy and I never got into it.
Okay, no worries. But squash is still a great sport. How do you get pumped up for a big day?
Well, I meditate, and I don't necessarily do that even just for the big day. I just think that's one of the habits that is really powerful for getting you in the for getting you ready for preparing your day, right?
Absolutely. So you're a morning I guess I'm going off script here a little bit, asking one extra question because I personally meditate as well, and I enjoy it. Are you a morning meditator or evening meditator, or what do you find the best time?
I tend to be morning meditator, but I'm not a first thing in the morning meditator. I'm a first thing in the morning exerciser because I find I get up and get dressed in my gym shorts, and I find if I do it and get on the elliptical first thing, then I get it done. Where if I say, no, I'll just check my email, I'll do a bunch of other stuff. The next thing you know, it's 11 o'clock in the morning. Oh, well, I'll just leave that, right?
Yeah, I gotta get that first win of the day in. At least we have something in common. So hopefully I can get some more of your success tips here and get to your level one day. So obviously for people that don't know, Jim, you came from humble beginnings. You started selling computer software out of your truck in a car. You sat on the board of Blackberry before it was Blackberry. Investing in over 150 startup companies and running successful businesses on your own. You obviously accomplished a lot in your life. So I'd love to just dive in and just ask you some questions about your successes, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Awesome. How would you, as a person that's accomplished so much, define success?
So success for a person is when they are working at something that is their purpose. That's how you are successful. And it doesn't matter what your purpose is. Your purpose can be different than mine.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. And how did you find that purpose? I know this is a little on the script here, but how did you find that purpose? Just curious, because I'm always looking for that as well.
Well, I didn't always know what my purpose was until later, in which case I started studying it. And when you study how to find your purpose, one thing you do is you look back in your life. What were the things that you really were good at, that you really enjoyed? What were the things you felt really good about, and that tends to be related around your purpose. That's one way to do it, and the other way is through a prioritization and saying, you know, if you could do this or that, which would be more interesting to you or more on purpose for you.
Really cool. And I don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but would you mind sharing what you believe your purpose is?
Sure. I believe my purpose is to help as many people as possible achieve their greatest potential.
Love it.
And then a corollary of that is I am a business guy. So the way I do that tends to be through business. And I've accepted that that's what I love and that's who I am. And so it gives me purpose around making freezers, for instance. Why should, you know, like I say, oh, great, made another 10,000 freezers. Like, that's not inspirational, but saving the world, that's inspirational.
That's really cool. I love that. And you said you didn't really find until you started studying it. What are the kind of some of the tools or resources you use to study and discover this?
Well, I'm a big reader, so I would read lots of books, like Strength Finder is one of them. And but these days of Google and YouTube, just go on to Google and Google how to find your purpose. You'll find lots of exercises on it. And same thing with YouTube, Google purpose, you'll find it.
Right? Do you have a favorite person or a resource go-to person that that you would recommend that you just really connected with?
So I like Simon Sinek and the way he thinks. Start with the why.
Really
And
cool.
a lot of his stuff, he's one of the great thinkers of the day.
Cool. No, I appreciate that. Taking notes, as you can see, always got lessons to learn here. Um, so here we go. How long did it take you to find your first success in the way you define it?
Well, that's the key, is success the way I defined it. You never arrive. And I feel I think if you arrive, then you will start to fail. So I'm on a continual journey to improve, continual journey to get better, continual journey to get there, where if I say I've hit the destination, then essentially I will have failed, or I'll begin to fail.
Okay, really cool. So it's always a North Star, right? Like success is always a North Star. You can never reach it, but you can always walk towards it, right?
Well, exactly. And so sometimes in my goals, I do actually put numbers on it. And I say, okay, so I'm going to help 500 refugees or whatever. Well, what happens as soon as I get to 300 refugees? And I say, oh, let's make it not 500, let's make it 700. And that's actually how I grew my business. My first business, I grew to $2 billion in sales. When I was a $5 million company, I said, oh, I want to be 10 million. Then as I'm approaching 10, then I said, oh, I want to be 25, and then I want to be 50, and then I want to be 100. And I just kept moving the bar up and up and up.
Love that. Thanks for sharing all this, by the way. It's really cool. Knowing what you know now, is there anything you would have done differently when you first started out?
So one of my practices, I have a practice of gratitude. And I believe that happiness is tied to gratitude. The more grateful you are, the happier you will be in life. So as a result, I don't really think I should change anything because I have such a great life. However, if there was one thing, I am an engineer, but I am a bad engineer. I'm an engineer because my parents thought I should be an engineer. So I became an engineer, but I don't design anything. And I'm a business guy. I should have studied business or marketing or psychology or something like that, because I'm more passionate about that than I am locking myself in a room and designing things.
All right, really interesting to know. Did you, even finding all the success, and I mean, there's a lot of people out there that believe that they might have to, get the letters behind their names to have that kind of success. Did you go back and get those letters for yourself, or did you just learn from the school of hard knocks?
So I never did go to business school. I never did, I did take some marketing courses and stuff like that, but I never did that. I have my engineering degree. But the interesting thing about degrees is the day you graduate, it's obsolete, and it doesn't mean as much as what some people in the world think it does. And I know that some employers look at that, but I don't tend to look at it as much as other people. I look at what are you good at and what can you do and what's your potential, rather than what's the letters behind your name.
Really cool. Great. So how do you, I know you invest in a lot of businesses. So how do you continue to test your assumptions for new business ideas?
Well, my big way of testing is through failure. So I always say fail often, fail fast, fail cheap. And so I try things. Now, the key is to fail cheap. So I don't risk my business on it, but I try things and see whether or not it works. And if it works, then I do more of it. And if it doesn't work, I stop doing it. So it's just failure is my best way of testing.
Is there a recent example of something that you tried cheap? Because I always see people really gravitate to examples. Is there anything you have done that you tried it and did it cheaply and saw it wasn't a good thing and just moved on?
Sure. I mean, we got into the tabletop appliance business. We do mostly refrigerators and wine coolers and freezers and stuff and air conditioners. And so we went into tabletop appliances and we brought in a chopper. And the key was we negotiate the minimum order quantity to a lower minimum order quantity. We brought them in, and we will sell them through, but it will have taken us 3 or 4 years. So we probably won't lose any money on it. That's the fail cheap.
Yeah.
But it's not what I'm going to say a flagship product that we're going to do more of. Now, at the same time we did that, we did electric kettle, and the electric kettle, we're now at the phase where, we need to reintroduce, and because I'm not going to say it's going to be a huge success that makes our company, but it will be a nice little, 1% product and whatnot. So we learned that maybe choppers were not for us. They're not going to be premier, and maybe electric kettles are, right?
There you go. So from that one potential failure, which wasn't even really a failure, you found an opportunity to grow, which is really cool. Great. What are the key activities that you would recommend entrepreneurs invest their time in?
So that question is the best question for entrepreneurs, and that is, what do you spend your time on? Time is your most precious commodity, your most precious asset, and that's where you'll have your success, by spending time on the right thing. That means, what should an entrepreneur do? Figure out what are those right things and figure out how can you spend more time on those right things. It's all about prioritization.
Mm-hmm. And how did you discover what your right things were, or how would someone go about discovering what those right things are? Because that's the $1 billion question, I guess, right? Is what is the right thing to work on at all times, right?
Exactly. Again, I did it through experimentation. So I try some things, see what works, and then I do more of what works and do less of what doesn't work. And that's how I figured it out.
Really cool. I mean, I think the lesson there is, like, some people want a very complicated answer and maybe usually complicate things more than they have to be. But at the end of the day, it's about keeping it simple, right? Do more of what works, do less of what doesn't. That's a pretty simple answer, but I mean, it is brilliant, right?
Yeah, no, that's success. Yeah,
absolutely. Just need to see where I'm at here. As an entrepreneur, there are many opportunities for you to pay attention to. So how do you determine which opportunities to pursue and what you let go? Because I think there's your Danby business, right, where you have direct control over that. But what about when you look at investing in a company or helping another company succeed? How do you determine which one's the right opportunities to go after?
Well, the right opportunities largely get screened by the background and experiences that I've had. And so I end up with a lot of little rules about little things. So, for example, in startups, I always look at, is the business going after the right size business opportunity for them? So if you come to me and say, oh, you want to design the next, do another word processor, you're going to take Microsoft out. And I'm going to say, well, gee, I'm not sure you've got the resources to take Microsoft out. So I like going into smallish markets that are, that you have some chance of doing. That's one screen I look at in investing.
That's really cool. And you have multiple of those filters? So that's just one, do you have 5, 10, 20 filters you go through?
Well, sure. So I look at 3 areas that need to be covered. One is technically, how does the product work? Is it rocket science? Is it patentable? Like, how difficult is it to do? And there's no right answer there. You could be a very simple business, and that's a good one, or you could be so complex it's rocket science. That could be a good one too. Second thing I look at is sales and marketing. How easy is it going to be for you to sell the product? How expensive is it going to be to sell? Can you sell? And the third thing is business. Is it likely you can make money? So I put it through the screen of those 3 things, because often founders are engineers and technologists, and they've just designed a better mousetrap. I'm telling you, design a better mousetrap. It doesn't mean anything if you can't sell it. And if you miss that sales and marketing angle, or if you miss the business angle, you've got a better mousetrap, cost you $400. Well, I just don't think you're going to sell a lot of $400 mousetraps. That's just not going to work. And then overlying all of that is the entrepreneur. And this is the toughest part, because what I'm looking for in entrepreneurs is someone who is scalable, fair, high integrity, but it's tough to tell if you're scalable. Because you're going to come to me and you say, oh yeah, I've got 3 employees and we're going to build this thing into this business. Well, how are you going to be when you have 100 employees? How are you going to be when you have 500 employees and whatnot? And then the fairness part, are you still going to be fair? Like right now, you want my money. I get that. You bend over backwards. But once you've got the money, do you want to be fair 10 years from now? Or are you going to feel, well, gee, Jim didn't put in much money and I'm doing all the work. How come he gets any of the return?
Absolutely. Really cool. And how do people approach you right now? Is there a website they go to, or they connect with you? How do people get pitch their ideas to you?
So, all right, for starters, I try to stay very focused on Danby Appliances. So I tend to not do much investing anymore, but the best tool for everybody is LinkedIn. And so if you can't find me on LinkedIn, you probably don't deserve to connect. But it's an awesome tool, whether or not you're trying to find investors or customers or stay in touch with people. I just think it's one of the best tools.
Absolutely. Thanks for the tip. Sounds great. What changes have you seen in local businesses as they adapt to COVID-19?
Well, the biggest instant change is everything went online. So everything used to be in person, and the companies that did well are the ones that adapted to online. At the same time, COVID for entrepreneurs is awesome because it creates change, and entrepreneurs thrive on change. If you're in a market that's just stagnant, the only way that you can take business is by knocking someone else out of the box. That's really, really, really tough. When there's change, then there's opportunities. So for like Danby Appliances, in COVID, all of a sudden everybody needed freezers, and it was just a race. How many freezers can you make? How fast can you ship them? How can you get them out there? Because everybody said, "Oh, I don't want to go to the grocery store as much," and and everyone's eating at home, so they're freezing stuff. Where before, I'll eat out 3 days a week, and I don't need a standalone freezer. So that's one example of capitalizing on a change. The other change we were able to capitalize on is the cocooning, or you're gonna work from home. Well, if you're work from home, you want a better workspace. You want a nicer, oh, maybe I'll have a bar fridge in my office. Maybe I have, extend my season and have a fridge in my deck. And so people are improving their homes. That's another trend. But I've seen a lot of businesses thrive in pandemic, even ones that theoretically are shut down. There are restaurants which are actually doing tremendous business, but that's because it's all takeout, skip the dishes, and Uber Eats and stuff. It's not eat in. I mean, we're only just opening up.
Right. Yeah. Are there any businesses you visit more because of the changes they've made? Is there specific changes businesses have made that have really attracted you to them, or not so much?
So the main thing that I've changed is I basically have gone all online. So I've gone much more online, and some of these you're still dealing with local businesses. I mean, if you want a book these days, the best place to get it is Bookshelf. Bookshelf is same day, like they're really fast on delivery, and it's personal service to the door. And they're not putting in a great big cardboard box that it's in a paper bag. It's a really neat delivery, and so they win in that.
Yeah, so you can still be big playing in a smaller market, right? Like, I mean, they're doing the same thing but more efficiently and doing it locally.
Well, and they see they're also entrepreneurial, and they said, "Well, okay, so we're going to do I don't know what they call it, wine and read and wine, and they have a liquor license, so they can deliver a bottle of wine with your book." Well, you're not getting that from the big guys because they don't have the right license and whatnot, and the little guy can do it because they can. I don't know what they have to do. They probably need to have everybody Smart Serve certified and a bunch of stuff that other people don't have. And I assume wine's probably not that good to ship anyways.
Right. Yeah. Here's another. We're switching gears a little bit. Since you've written a book on time management in 2010, I'd love to hear what has changed for you and how you approach time management post-pandemic.
So post-pandemic, I will travel probably 2/3 less than I used to. So I used to be on a plane every week. And I've learned in the last year that I can actually do a lot of business on Teams calls, Zooms calls, call bridge calls. So I will travel a lot less. That's one change. And the time efficiency of that is really very, very good. I would say the same thing is true of in-person meetings. I mean, we're fairly close to Toronto here, so very frequently someone says, "Oh, let's have lunch, let's meet." And of course, they're in Toronto. Well, by the time you drive to Toronto and find a parking spot and drive back, you've just killed 3 hours of drive time and whatnot. So I think I will do less driving, less travel, and it will make me more efficient. Now, pre-pandemic, we did do video. People could do video, but it was almost like, "Oh, I want to do a video call." So, "Oh, let me get my tech support to figure it out." No, I don't have a webcam and whatnot. Now people just know how to do it and whatnot. So I'm going to save a lot of flights because I used to have to meet with Costco and Home Depot, and they always want head office. You have to fly in the night before to meet with them, and so for me, it'll be less travel, which is more efficient.
Absolutely. So, pre-pandemic, it's no one's trained how to use the tools. Everyone still expects everyone to meet face to face, and then now post-pandemic, it has forced everyone to know how to use these kind of tools, set up microphones and webcams and everything. And now you can have very efficient meetings that are almost like in person. Even if you and I met in person, we would have had to have driven, and that's still a time efficiency save, just being able to hop on here and hop off, right?
Well, that's right. As a matter of fact, one of the things I've done in pandemic, which I'm going to continue, is I am now doing podcasts like this. I used to do speaking events. I would go out and speak, but going out and speaking, you kill an hour to get there, half an hour to get there. You hang around for a half an hour. You speak to someone. You have to finish the dinner. You can spend 4 hours doing this. We're going to be on here for 25 minutes, and I'll be on to my next call in 6 minutes. That's how easy it is.
That's right. Absolutely. And the nice thing about this whole thing is I want to ask a follow-up question. Do you think that will have a consequence in terms of making less connections with people since we're not going out as much?
So that's a really good question. I actually believe that, yes, that can be a problem. It totally can absolutely be a problem. Now, I had already learned that if you have 2 or 3 in-person meetings, then you can do it more easily by phone and more easily by email and whatnot. But I do think, especially in a sales capacity, it's tough to develop rapport with people. It's tougher to develop rapport with people when you're not in person. So I think that will, and so some companies will thrive because they do get out more in person. And this goes back to your time management question. What's the best use of your time? There's no right answer to entrepreneurial questions. If there's a right answer, then everyone just go do it. The advantage of not being in person is the number of contacts you can make in the period of time. The advantage of being in person is you absolutely develop better rapport. I also believe in person, you aren't all business as much, if that makes sense. You're and that feeds something in your spirit to not just be, okay, we'll sell you these for $110 and how many containers you want and blah, blah, blah. No, like that doesn't get it as much as actually having dinner with someone.
Yeah, absolutely. There's that human element that needs to potentially exist still, that I think, people will use the tools more often, but I think people will still crave that interaction. And hey, while I have you for one last one here, is there anything that you'd like to plug for either businesses you share? Anything you want to say? Final thoughts? Anything you want to say here?
Well, I guess I will say that the piece of advice is we are the product of our habits. So develop success habits. And one success habit is the habit of gratitude. Gratitude will bring you happiness. Now, at the same time, of course, I'm a business guy, and I will be happier if everyone buys lots of Danby bar fridges and wine coolers. So support local business in Danby whenever you have a chance.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. And I know I took more than a page of notes here, so I appreciate all the insights you've given us. Thanks again, Jim. I really appreciate it. Hope to have you on again sometime.
Looking forward to it. Anytime. Anytime.